The United States Supreme Court now officially overturns Roe v. Wade. Officially, they are saying women do not have the same rights in this country as they once did. I'm going to give you an analysis of this conclusion by the US Supreme Court and how both Democrats and Republicans have played a part in this disastrous day today. So in a 5-4 decision, SCOTUS has overturned Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court on Friday overturned it officially. We got the leaks in advance. We knew this was coming. Now it's here. They have overturned the fundamental right to abortion established nearly 50 years ago in Roe v. Wade, a stunning reversal that leaves states free to drastically reduce or even outlaw a procedure that abortion rights groups said is key to a woman's equality and independence. Now, let me remind you of what it looks like when states have this kind of control. Remember Alabama back in 2019? Well, they passed a law. They passed a law that said if a woman is raped, if a woman has no choice and that choice is taken away, the man rapes her and she seeks an abortion, that woman can get up to 25 years in prison. The doctor who performs it, the abortion, can get up to 99 years in prison, and the rapist will get between 5 to 10 years in prison. That was not legislation. That actually became law temporarily in the United States of America, contextualized in Alabama. Their legislature passed it, their governor signed it. It took a court to overturn the insanity, but for a brief period of time, that was the actual law in Alabama. Overturning Roe v. Wade creates this cascade effect that will allow Alabama and other states to create insane laws against women. There's more. On January 22nd, 1973, this is your historical context, the Supreme Court issued a 7-2 decision, 7-2, holding that the due process clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides a fundamental right to privacy, and it does, which protects a pregnant woman's right to an abortion. Her right to choose is contextualized in the United States Constitution. This happened in 1973. Republicans, conservatives, many of them opposed it then, but not all of them. As a matter of fact, even today, the majority of Americans still agree with a woman's right to choose. Obviously, the majority of women agree with the woman's right to choose. This is the minority approach here. You have a handful of religious zealots and conservative, chaotic men in particular who have decided to force this as now common law in the United States of America. Is it not ironic that since 1973, Democrats did not codify this into absolute law? There were times they had the votes, they had the chambers, and they could have, and they did not. They are reactionary. There's more. So let's go to what Justice Alito wrote, all right? He says Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. His reasoning exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences and far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue. Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. I got more to say about that, but Alito, since you're on the roll here, how about you do this? And this is something that I posted on social media. Since the Supreme Court wants to take away a woman's right to choose, child support should start at conception. A child is 9 months old at birth. Mandate life insurance companies to insure fetuses. Stop deporting pregnant, undocumented women. because now they are carrying American citizens. Go all the way, Alito. Let's have linear logic in your judicial conclusion. But of course, when the 14th Amendment was ratified, it wasn't ratified by people. This is not about the 14th Amendment. Let's stop acting as if the framers of the Constitution and those that decided to put pen to paper were somehow divine and perfect. No, there is something terribly wrong with the Constitution of the United States of America. And part of it is exactly what's happening now. So when we say, well, the people ratified the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, no, old ass white men did. That's who ratified it, that's who wrote it, and that's who has historically interpreted the damn thing. Not people, not a diverse group, not really the true citizens of this country, but old white men. But of course, people did not ratify the 14th Amendment, men did. So it is perhaps not surprising that the ratifiers were not perfectly attuned to the importance of reproductive rights for women's liberty and for their capacity to participate as equal members of our nation. The Supreme Court ruled Thursday in the height of hypocrisy. They ruled on Thursday that law-abiding Americans have a right to carry a handgun outside the home for self-defense, issuing a watershed constitutional ruling against firearm restrictions as the nation reels from mass shootings and its political leaders are divided on how to curb the violence. So let me bring this home to you. You literally have a Supreme Court that just ruled that a woman's right to choose cannot be codified in the US Constitution, and it must be left up to the states in order for a woman to have that right. That same Supreme Court ruled that having a gun wherever you choose to, basically, cannot be left up to the states, but it must be codified by the United States Supreme Court and nationally applied. Do you see what they're doing here? Do you see the irony, the hypocrisy of the ruling? While one ruling says this right is so precious that we must get involved to protect this right for all people in all states in this country, and the other right, not so much. When it comes to women, the right is not worth protecting nationally, but when it comes to those who have guns, there's more. The court's conservatives prevailed in a 6-3 decision that struck a New York law requiring a special need to carry a weapon and puts at risk similar laws in Maryland, California, New York, Hawaii, and Massachusetts. The ruling is likely to make it easier to carry guns in some of the nation's biggest cities. Thomas, in his summary of this opinion, Justice Thomas talked about your right to self-defense. But here's the irony, Justice. Your right to bear arms, the phrase self-defense doesn't exist. It's for a well-regulated militia. How do you define well-regulated, sir? Or you didn't bother to do that? Self-defense as a prerequisite dynamic so that you can have guns is not even contextualized in the US Constitution. The vote was a 6-3 vote to uphold a restrictive Mississippi law. Chief Justice John Roberts Jr. criticized his conservative colleagues for taking the additional step of overturned Roe and Planned Parenthood v. Casey, which had reaffirmed the rights of women. Now listen, make no mistake about it, it's a sad day. It's a sad day. It's not just a sad day for women. It's a sad day for our nation. It's a sad day for the character of our country. But here's the thing, and I tell my college students this often because they're living in a perilous time. There is no finality in democracy. Democracy allows room for remedy, but you gotta stick it out. You have to continue to fight. You gotta push the agenda, and you cannot give up just because they tell you you can't or you won't or it will never happen. You have to keep fighting. Now, that only applies in democracy. If you hand it back over to Trump and his cronies, democracy will cease to exist. And that's where we are. Dan, thoughts here?
This is, as you said, a very dark day in American history. Of course, we knew because the Supreme Court ruling had leaked, which was its own unprecedented case, but having it completely codified in court and then watching this reaction where you have senators like Joe Manchin who were promised that Kavanaugh wouldn't rule on Roe v. Wade, or like they accepted these lies just so they could see another political day. And now they're clutching their pearls and acting shocked and chagrined that such a day would come. People like Nancy Pelosi, who claim to be the top fundraisers of the party, who hold a lot of power, who are then turning around and saying, well, we got everyone to vote. We've done nothing with our limited amount of power that we were able to get and squeak out in Georgia, where we all promised people that we would get things done if we were just able to win those Senate races. And here we've got nothing to show you, but we still desperately want you to continue voting for us. Pelosi is fundraising right now, even though Republicans have power, and she's reading out poetry right now. The Republicans have power, Democrats have poems. And so that's why, and the other thing I have to point out here is that this isn't going to stop. In Clarence Thomas's ruling, he says, for that reason, we should reconsider all the court's due process precedents, including Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. That means they're gonna come for gay marriage. That means they're gonna come for contraceptive rights. It's only going to get harder from here. And we need to realize that the pressure is on not just Republicans who we knew were evil, but on Democrats to make sure that they actually start acting and defending these rights that we're supposed to have. Because as you're saying, we have no democracy if we don't have rights.
That's right. And you are so correct on the fact that they are setting the stage. Make no mistake about it, it was intentional when Clarence Thomas placed that unique wording inside of the summary. That is setting the stage. That creates an echo, that creates a movement inside of a movement. They know exactly what they're doing and they know how to talk to each other in their coded language. We can decode it, it's not difficult, but we have to be willing to put leaders in position who are ready to fight and not those who give a damn about the institution, but they give a damn about the people who put them there.